Hey everyone, we're Journey to the West. It's March 17th, and I'm here with Jay.
Hey, I'm Jay. My Twitter handle is J_MARAAN.
And I'm here with Sen.
Hi, I'm Sen. You can find me on Twitter at Sen_TIENT on Twitter.
And I'm V on my social media accounts. You can find me Miss V Nguyen. And Wen, say hi.
Hi, this is Wen.
And we are here to talk about my favorite topic of all time, guys, Asian beauty. So, what does Asian beauty mean?
Well, not to get philosophical, but in a broader sense, I'd like to think that it's about being comfortable in your own skin as an Asian person. And like putting your best face forward, so to speak.
Me personally, Asian beauty is a form of creativity. It's like music and art. You can be creative with Asian beauty and also showing appreciation for your heritage because every country has its own beauty standards and its own way of appreciating their culture. So I got it from Grandma, so thank you, Grandma, for teaching me your ways. And because I'm blessed because of her genes, she has dry skin, but she never had a pimple in her life. I got that from her. Thanks, Grandma. I think something I don't agree with is that you can apply Western thoughts and ideas about Asian beauty to, so for example, someone might be, oh, in Asia, the experiences are like everywhere else. You're going to be treated differently, all because of your skin color. So I'm sorry, I'm not trying to invalidate that because I know I get treated differently if I had tan skin. At the same time, it's not always black and white.
I wouldn't call it colorism. There is discrimination based on, the tone of your skin, but it's definitely more like a shade-ism because it's not based in Western ideals and concepts. And it's really frustrating to see people apply their own perspective to a culture and to ethnic groups that are not their own.
Well, I think that there is what we'll call it shade-ism in terms of how people view tanner people, but it's not as crazy as people make it out to be. Like, people aren't getting harassed on the street like constantly because their skin's a bit tanner. It's not the same thing.
I don't know, I just sometimes I wonder, is it kind of exaggerated anyways? Well, kind of makes me think what my brother always says, like, you kind of can't change your skin, you can't change the skin tone that you're born with.
I'll be real. I've been both lighter and darker throughout my life, and I have seen the way people have treated me differently. However, it feels imposing, I think is the exact word, when people try to talk about the differences in treatment in Asia, because I know I'm not living in Asia right now, but the way they talk about it, it's as if Asia is backwards, and then by default, Western standards are better, which to me is pretty problematic, to be honest. That's my own personal thoughts, though. But Sen, we were talking about this one person named Edward Avila, and he went to a recent... Can you talk about that for us?
Okay, so I do follow this beauty guru on YouTube. His name's Edward Avila, I think. And he is a Filipino guy that lives in South Korea. And he's been living there for a while. And there was like a really interesting YouTube video he made. And it was kind of based on another Korean YouTuber who, because in her video she was talking about, as she's putting on her makeup, like, I'm not being pale because I want to be white. Like, I'm just doing this because I want to. And he was touching on kind of his perspective as a non-Korean in Korea about K-beauty and the misconceptions of it. Like, a lot of people thought that, if you're slightly tan in Korea, you're going to get immediately discriminated against, or if you're black, then everyone's going to hate you and be racist. And he told everyone that he was at a KCON panel in LA, and he was just asking questions, and a girl raised her hand and asked, if I'm black, or if you're like, or if I'm slightly brown, are people gonna discriminate me in Korea? And everyone was like looking in anticipation for his answer. And he just said, oh, it's pretty okay. Like Koreans in Korea are actually moving towards tan skin because there's this whole gym culture that's been fairly prolific. And a lot of people want to be tan. And he even said that some of his friends wanted to be tan. And people were just really surprised and shocked almost. He even commented there was like a huge silence in the room. And people were just almost angry at him for saying that. Which I feel like there's like a toxic type of mentality people have, that they impose these kind of their idea of why Asians want to be more pale and say, well, it's because of racism. And their confirmation bias isn't showing here, so they're kind of upset about it.
And that's the thing. There's so much confirmation bias about all this that I feel we need to talk about it. And what's missing is the nuance about all this, especially. Because I remember, Jay, don't you remember we were talking about how some people, when they're talking about how some features they think are problematic, they're like, always have to emphasize it as an Asian feature?
Yeah, so like whether I'm watching beauty gurus or just surfing forums, there are a lot of Asian people who tend to other themselves by commenting on their features in a negative way. So like instead of saying, I have short eyelashes, for instance, they would say, I have short Asian eyelashes, as though that's a negative thing. Or, hey, I'm an Asian guy and I don't know what kind of haircut to get. I have typical Asian hair. It's straight and it sticks straight up. And while I don't necessarily think that this is an intentional thing that they're doing or even indicative of some serious deep-seated self-hate, it definitely is something that I want us to move away from. If you're going to talk about your own features, then don't do it in such a negative light. I mean, they're normal. You just have your features, and that's fine. And that's actually what was refreshing for me, seeing, I don't know if you guys are familiar with how Maya Shibutani, famous Olympic figure skater, and one half of the Shipsubs, actually recently did a makeup tutorial. And I noticed that when she was referring to her features, she just talked about them as though they were normal, because they are. Because she has long, straight hair, she has short eyelashes, so she uses falsies, but she doesn't talk about them in a disparaging way.
Yeah, I mean, sure, my hair is hard to curl. During prom, my hair couldn't even hold a curl for more than 45 minutes, but I'm not hating. It's straight hair. Many people have straight hair, not just Asians. Many people have double lids. Asians have double lids too. There's a stereotype that Asians are all monolids. Nope, we have a diverse array of looks. And it's okay to have monolids too. Don't be ashamed of them. Don't be.
A lot of people insinuate, oh, using double eyelid tape, that means you want to be white or you hate yourself. And I've seen girls use it because they have uneven eyelids, because sometimes the other eye would have double eyelids and the other one wouldn't. So it's not always what people think. Like, don't impose what you think people are if you don't even know them.
Was it people call it contouring? That kind of makeup, I guess they're trying to put on the makeup to make you have like this sharper, I guess, I don't know, it's like thinner cheeks or sharper chin. I actually am confused with that kind of like way, what contouring is. But I remember, like, I guess I like trying to like read up about that, or at least like, I guess watch something about it. And I guess also, was it trying to highlight like the nose bridge? I'm not sure that's a thing also about having, I don't know, I never understood like the thing about the noses.
And another thing I want to add is that there's a lot of people trying to claim dibs on things. For example, blonde hair. Oh, Asians can't dye their hair blonde. Oh, it looks so ugly. People be talking like that. But the thing is, we have Chloe Kim. We have other people who dye their hair blonde. They look just fine. So there's this greater problem.
I would add to that, too, that there are other women who don't have naturally blonde hair who dye their hair blonde, but they don't get called self-hating for it. Like Beyonce doesn't have naturally blonde hair.
Yeah, it's kind of a double standard. Which brings me to my next point. I apologize for interrupting, which is that we do get called self-hating if we try things like contouring, doing our makeup, and dyeing our hair blonde. And which is the greater implication is that primarily people who are of European descent think they could call dibs on certain standards, which I've already wrote an article about, and it's kind of problematic. For example, if you're really in the beauty world, you will know that, in particular, many beauty gurus of European descent have a problem with certain brands because they're being tested in China, which brings up to this point. I feel personally that there's anti-Asian racism laced into it. I even have a friend who's non-Asian, and we were just talking about this. She was like, it's not a black and white issue when talking about how some products are being tested in China because each country has different policies. And it feels Westerners are trying to impose that they're more superior than people involved in the Asian beauty brands and all that.
Yeah, I definitely see that. I mean, it's fine if you don't support animal testing and you want to buy cruelty-free brands. There are plenty of them out there, including in Asia. There are actually a number of Korean brands that are cruelty-free. But it's very unnecessary to attack the animal testing in China in a very yellow peril kind of way. It makes it seem like it's just these evil Asians who make animals suffer and that the West is morally superior because we don't do that as like a requirement. But that's not really the case. For instance, not necessarily beauty related, but you know how people love their freaking avocados in America? Well, they're contributing to the deforestation of habitats for plenty of animals because of avocado farms. But I don't see you giving up your avocados for that. Just because animal testing is something that's more visible to you doesn't mean that you're not contributing to the harm of other animals. Don't point fingers.
If you're really conscious about animal testing and cruelty-free and natural stuff, there's already been a lot of discussion regarding that. It's kind of problematic because the labeling isn't, a lot of the time they're not certified, so you can't be 100% sure if these people are actually saying what they mean when they say, oh, cruelty-free. And also, being ethical with the products you use is definitely important, but you also have to keep in mind that it's not just animal testing. You also have to look at ingredients like palm oil, which is contributing to the deforestation of habitats for orangutans, for example. And also, another argument is the human cost of making a lot of products as well, is that capitalism, you have people in places like China where they're slaving in factories for a couple of cents. So if people really want to be ethical about their consumerism, they have to keep that in mind as well. And also the fact that China is also moving away from animal testing as well since 2014. So it's kind of like beating a dead horse. And I have seen discussion on some beauty subreddits, and every time that the China thing is brought up, there's always people defending it and also commenting on why it's so necessary to point the finger at China when these companies are the ones that are doing the trade and they are the ones that have agency over what they do with their products at the end of the day.
But, I mean, it's pretty much the same thing, yes, you guys said. If you know what, then just don't buy those products. I mean, well, I don't know what to say, what other countries are doing. And of course, also you have to look at, whatever, it's sometimes, as you guys said, some of the things, either whatever they're buying, other products, or other things, and other things that could be that's also most likely contributing, problems to the environment or to other things or animals.
Going back to the placing blame disproportionately on Asian people and Asian countries, I think it's worth noting that a lot of Western companies have outsourced their production and their ingredient sourcing to Asian countries and to Asian labor because they can't be bothered thank you capitalism, to pay the citizens in their own countries a living wage and proper benefits. So if you want to point fingers, make sure that you're pointing them at the right people, as in the ones who are benefiting from this.
Especially as Southeast Asian, I have to admit, some people may disagree with me on this, but I like seeing how like K-beauty is getting popular. I mean, I also want to support like, Southeast Asian and Vietnamese beauty products, but seeing K-beauty is really refreshing because now it's like a lot of times I felt like Western countries have imposed their products and their way of doing skincare on us, and it's no, not anymore.
Yeah, we finally had the opportunity to assert ourselves. And even though it's not necessarily perfect, it feels better.
I used to have a lot of issues with going back to the features thing, like othering myself to the point where I just hate like my eyebrows or my eyelashes. But getting exposed to Asian beauty at least made me realize people just accept it and move on. Like they just deal with it. Oh, I don't like my eyebrow shape, I'll just shave it or something. Like it's kind of whatever, you know? And I kind of like that.
Before, I used to, I guess it's more, I used to like just not like any of my features because I always thought, oh, I don't have big eyes, I don't have double eyelids, you know, I wasn't thin enough. And I kept saying, I don't like my face. The only thing that I liked was my hair because, you know, I have really long, thick hair. And that's what I liked. And I think that was the only thing that I think people would always praise it or something similar like that. Because I think my hair is so thick and it's so long, such a nice shade. It's like, no, probably because I just don't spend my time putting chemicals into my hair. So, I don't know. And it's just one of those things where I'm not sure how along the way. I still have my moments where I'm not, just there's days that sometimes you just don't like yourself, you don't like your features. But then there's times when I tell myself, you know, I'm okay with what I look like, I'm fine with what my features are. I don't see why it's considered ugly, because it's just one of those things you question. I think I had someone question that to me when I said I always felt like I was getting annoyed with people always saying, "Oh, you're so ugly," or I always had to make fun of your features. You know, they're just not my natural features, right? And then someone said, you know, it's like why would you think like that? Why would you think it's just what other people say or something like that? But it's just, I guess it's looking at it, how you're talking about, like, was it the way Asian beauty or K-beauty? It's just, I'm not sure what you guys are saying. It's like gotten popular, or maybe so things are changing. But I guess I would hope to say maybe just feels, I guess, a little bit better. But still, there are days or times where I just I don't like myself, or I just feel gross.
We all have those days. That's why we gotta embrace every form of Asian beauty. Whether you put on skincare or don't do your makeup or anything, you're perfect just the way you are. Any last thoughts, Jay?
Something to add to the whole rise of Asian beauty in Asia specifically. I do want to acknowledge that the Philippines is a unique case and that we don't just deal with the shade-ism, which is pretty much classism, but we also have that combined with a colonial mentality because the Philippines was ruled by Western powers for so long that essentially puts white people on a pedestal and white features. And you do see this in entertainment in that a lot of the more visible actors and actresses are actually half. They don't have indigenous features. They're not dark-skinned, and they look European at times. But what makes me feel hopeful about the rise of Asian beauty is that more and more Filipinos are calling this out and actually calling for people to embrace their natural skin tones and the way they look, and rather than ascribe to this European ideal, which is really heartwarming to see.
I just wanted to add on one thing. I'm sorry if I offended anyone. I just want to be real though. As someone who's been there, Southeast Asian, dealing with being treated differently for being dark-skinned and being light-skinned, I feel like the dynamics aren't such as black and white. They're gray too. It more with the rise of Asian beauty, to me, it means I could be okay with myself. Because I haven't felt that way in a long time. I'm still struggling, but in the end, love yourself. You don't need to admire anyone. You can still support someone, but love yourself the way you are. Because there are times when I've been disappointed in seeing how my idols will act differently, or people I admired who are figures and look a certain way act differently. So love yourself from the bottom of my heart. And if you want to know my skincare routine, I basically do a PM routine with just an oil cleanser by Vanilla Company, and then trying Leah Yu's Crave Beauty matcha hemp cleanser. I only use cleanser at night, and I rarely use an AHA or a BHA, and you know what? My skin's doing really well. Very little acne. So yeah, I'm V, and this is Jay.
Hey, I'm Jay. Thanks for listening. My Twitter handle is J_MARAAN.
And here's Sen.
Hi, you can find me on Twitter at Sen_TINT.
And Wen, who doesn't have social media, and you can find me on Miss V Nguyen on all my networks. We're Journey to the West. Thanks for listening. Bye.